Hi everyone, this is Tish Aitken, and I'm here to discuss the full moon in Libra, which takes place on April 19th, 2019 at 7:12 a.m. at 29 degrees of Libra. This is the second full moon in Libra that we've had within the month, and it is significant because it's also the final degree of the sign of Libra. Now, in the first full moon chart that we had in March, the ascendant for the chart was 29 degrees of Libra, and the full moon was at the world axis at 0 degrees of Libra. So there was an element of new beginnings because 0 is a degree of beginnings, but it was of endings because it was a full moon, which is completion and release. Now with this full moon chart, it is the first full moon since the month of November, which happens not to be at 0 degrees of a sign. The last 5 full moons have all been at 0 degrees respectively of each sign. So in this case, it's at the last degree of Libra, which is about relationships and partnering and finding what's of value and finding balance. And it is a few weeks after Pluto, which is the planet, Pluto, which is the planet of death and rebirth, meets up with the South Node in Capricorn. And that is definitely a time of release and endings. And 11 days after this full moon, Saturn, which is a planet of restructuring and trying to figure out what you do want to structure, is going to also meet up with the South Node of Karma on April 30th. So there is this element very much about destiny and release for the entire month of April, and quite intense. And in March, as many of you know, it was a very emotional month, and we had a very foggy and confusing Mercury retrograde, which set the tone in Pisces. And so it made it hard to really figure out what was working and what was not working, and really felt for many difficult to navigate. Now it's going to be much more clear what's not working and what is working. And if there were relationship decisions or other things that came up in the month of March, there may be revisions now that Mercury is no longer retrograde, and that Mercury changes signs on April 17th, 2 days before the full moon, and enters the sign of Aries, giving us much more clarity. And the other thing about this too is that this full moon at Libra, 29 degrees, is in opposition to the sun at 29 degrees of Aries. And that's where Uranus, which is the planet of chaos, upheaval, and awakening, was on and off since the end of April of 2018. And it's kind of triggering, or it is triggering, where Uranus has been this past year, and giving us some closure with that story. And the full moon itself opposes Uranus. Even though it's changed signs and is now at 2 degrees of Taurus, it's going to be in opposition to the full moon, whereas last month it was in opposition to Chiron, the wounded healer. So this is going to bring a lot of surprises in relationships. There could be a lot of surprise endings and breakthroughs, hopefully. But if you're in something that's not working and it's hard to get out of, I think that this could help to launch that. And I think it's going to bring a lot of enlightenment for people. But it's going to be very intense, and it might be time to take time to figure all of this out. And we also have Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries, and that they meet up exactly later in the day, and that also helps us to figure out how to heal our wounds around these issues, and hopefully through ideas, through talking things out, and just give you clues to what's going on. But the stellium of planets falls in the 12th house of endings. So again, I think there's a lot of finality to this full moon. I think the month of April is going to be very intense. And as I said with a new moon video, that this is going to be a time of figuring out what 2020 is going to be like, because Saturn and Pluto are both triggering the south node of karma in Capricorn. And earlier in April, Pluto is going to meet up exactly where Saturn and Pluto are going to be conjunct, which is 22 degrees of Capricorn. And they're going to meet up on January 12th of 2020. So we're all getting a preview of what that's going to be like. And it, you know, if there are things that come up, really figuring out how you can anchor your life and move forward with your goals so that you're in a good place in 2020 with all of these changes and facing and taking accountability for all of us. So I wish you a lot of luck. It's going to be a very intense full moon, full of a lot of endings, but also hopefully releasing us from things that are not working, and maybe in a quick and rapid manner, most likely with Uranus in opposition. So I wish you a lot of luck. Thank you.